Our relationship with time is everything. We can't control time. It doesn't stop. We can only accept time. Time is the demon that erodes away our dreams, our health, and our loved ones. Ultimately, time will wipe you and me off the earth in an unrelating, calm plod of a single unassuming second. At the start of that second, you will be in existence, and at the end of that second, you will not. Time is also the gift that we can use to learn any skill, to recover from a trauma. It makes our investments compound, and it makes our relationships so rich. Friendship is perhaps the most important act of witnessing each other's lives and being along for the ride and spending time together. Anything we want in life requires time. So, hello and welcome to the Growth Mindset Podcast with me, Sam Webster Harris. Today, if you hadn't noticed, I'm talking about time and how to enjoy it rather than be panicked by it. And leaping into 2023, another year has flown by and this year is going to happen super fast and we're all making plans of how we're going to smash it. And I wanted to share some ideas around how to work with time in a way that makes you feel like you're on friendly terms with it as opposed to at the mercy of time, because time is not an abusive, horrible thing that has a bad relationship with you. It is purely about your relationship with it. And time is, after all, our most precious resource. And as William Penn said, time is what we want most, and yet it's what we use the worst. So, firstly, I think it's important to focus on the fact that time is the medium in which we exist. And there's a saying that a fish doesn't know it is in water, and that is where it does everything. And we use time to work, to see friends, to exercise, to write, to learn an instrument, to make love. We simply are in time. Just like we are in the air. We breathe air to stay alive and exist, and we need time to exist. So you really should be nice to time, because any frustrations that you have with time and how you use it is not time's fault. It is our own fault. Time does the same thing every day, day in, day out, moment by moment. It just happens. We can't make time behave any differently. It is up to us to behave differently. So anything you want to achieve is possible by using time correctly. And accept that the only reason that you don't see the results that you want is that you aren't doing the right work with time. So we do need to just be humbly aware of our own weaknesses and find ways to complement them to amplify our strengths rather than blaming our lack of time or other problems. So use each day as an opportunity, because that's what it is, an opportunity to push yourself in the right direction, to make the healthy choices towards your dreams whilst being in the moment and enjoying the abilities that you have. In the book 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, which is regarded as a bit of an anti-productivity book, he talks about the fact that we have been granted the mental capacities to make almost infinitely ambitious plans, yet we have practically no time at all to put them into action, because ultimately productivity is a trap. Becoming more efficient just makes you more rushed, and trying to clear the decks simply makes them fill up again faster. Nobody in the history of humanity has ever achieved work-life balance. I spoke about this on the podcast before, that we should be seeking work-life integration, and see the work-life balance episode about that. But whatever work-life balance might be, you certainly won't get there by copying the 6 things successful people do before 7 a.m. The day will never arrive when you finally have everything under control, when the flood of emails has been contained, when your to-do lists have stopped getting longer, when you're meeting all your obligations at work and your home life, when nobody's angry with you for missing a deadline or dropping the ball, and when you finally become this fully optimized person, you can perhaps at long last really turn to the things that life is supposed to be about and relax. Well, it's easier to start by admitting defeat because none of that is ever going to happen. But you know what? That is excellent news, because you shouldn't expect it to happen. And when you stop expecting things, they'll stop annoying you. And so on the subject of being friends with time, some questions that I thought of that I think will help you understand where you're at with it. So let's say on your birthday, are you perhaps a bit sad and mopey and worrying about things? That means you are not friends with time. Are you, in fact, happy and excited to celebrate your birthday and this time? Well, that might mean that you are better friends with time, and that's a goal to aim for. Another question. When you're asked what you've been up to lately, do you immediately start by just talking about how busy you are? Well, that means you are not friends with time. That means you're stressed and overwhelmed. If instead you start by smiling and talking about the things that you have been grateful for recently, that means you're friends with time and you're enjoying how it's working. And lastly, when you think about things like your priorities, such as friends, your health, your big life goals, are you anxious about that? Do you feel like you don't know how to fit them in? Well, that means you're not friends with time and you're not able to prioritize the most important stuff in life. Or are you content? Do you feel like you are using time on all of this most important stuff? That's a sign that you're friends with time. And that's, again, the kind of goals you should be aiming for if you want to be happier and healthier, wiser and wealthier, etc. Now, that may sound privileged to be swanning about doing the things that you enjoy most, but it is foolish to think that it is only money that will give you the freedom to do the most important things, because I know very happy people with little money, and they have a great relationship with time because they know how to spend it. I also know very stressed people with lots of money and a terrible relationship with time, because it's down to the person and not their circumstances. And I'm sure you know rich people who don't like their birthdays, are overwhelmingly busy, and don't fit the important richness of life into their scarce time allocation. Being friends with time is a massive privilege, but it is a state of mind that you are completely capable of acquiring. Acknowledging that being friends with time is a privileged position and one that you should attain is a good place to start. And when I think of the people that are quietly content about their use of time, I am increasingly pushed towards the sort of Zen lifestyle and meditating and not doing very much. So I don't have the time in this podcast to give you an entire manual of all the different ways you could start improving your use of time, besides just giving you ideas of ways that you might be able to flag that you do have problems and where you should be starting. But certainly from my own life, something that I noticed when I was traveling in Asia for a year was that I met a lot of people, and there were 3 people that stood out from the crowd of the thousands. They all had an aura of calm and contentedness, a peace that I really gravitated towards. It turns out that every single one of these people had taken a 10-day silent meditation Vipassana retreat. And I'm not saying that everyone should do one. I'm just saying that there seemed to be a weird occurrence that it made people happier and better at managing their time and relationships. And by the time I met the third person who had done the Vipassana and was just one of the most interesting people and calm people to hang out with, I kind of gave in and was like, okay, I've no idea why this thing works, but it seems to have this effect on people. I'm just curious. I'm going to go and spend 10 days doing this stupid silent meditation retreat, and they're free, so why not? And yeah, none of them could actually tell me exactly what I'd learned from it or why I should do it, apart from that I should do it. And basically the concept scared me, so I was like, okay, I'll do it. I like facing my fears, and at least, if nothing else, I'd have tried a hard thing. And it became one of the most memorable and life-changing experiences of my life. Sure, it didn't completely cure me of being busy or lots of things that I wanted to do with my life, and I certainly didn't stop having ideas of things that I would really enjoy. However, it did refocus me on what I actually want to do and really why I would be doing it. More importantly, who I want to be whilst I do it. And it just made me a hell of a lot calmer and more accepting of everything as it happens, and gave me a lot of hope. So that's my one major tip of, if you feel like time is difficult for you, actually spending 10 days out to silently meditate is a huge one. And on a short term, meditating 10 minutes a day is still better than nothing. The other thing that doing this really taught me is that happiness is actually very logical, because there is always a logical way to not let your emotions overwhelm you in a bad way, because that can really steal the rest of your day from you and make you have a bad time. And ultimately, anger is a choice that you genuinely don't need to make, for example. And the same things with what you want to do. Everything is a choice that you have the autonomy to do or not. And if you consistently fail at something, there is a logical way that you can get around it and succeed. This answer might not be in a self-help productivity book. It might just be changing your environment or getting someone to help you. And I really want to make sure that you don't think of time as the enemy, because the enemy is probably what you want to do. And time is the enemy of what you want to do, which doesn't make time your enemy. Time is actually the enemy of your enemy. So you should be working with time against your enemy of all those things that you're trying to do, because time is how you will do them, as I first started by saying that time is the medium in which you exist and that you do everything. So you always have to work with time, and it always has to be your friend and not your enemy. That sounded a bit strange saying that out loud, but I hope you got it. And as I said, I'm not here to give you all the answers today, except to let you know that they exist and you can find them logically by giving some time into working them out, because time is a brilliant gift, but it is limited. So you must keep yourself aware of how you use it and just keep improving through attempts and learning. So meditating and sitting around by doing nothing for 10 minutes or an hour does seem wasteful, but actually it is one of the best uses of time, because it's a space to sit and collect yourself naturally, and it gives you the space to be more intentional with the rest of your time. And basically something that no one ever told me was that meditating is a way to spend time learning how to spend time. It's a way to reflect and actually think about what you're doing wrong with all your time and how to be a nicer person with yourself and everyone else. So if you are finding yourself frustrated about your relationship with time, especially as it's New Year's and you're trying to hit all these different goals, it is the perfect moment to slow down and think about how you use it. So thank you very much for listening. I hope I didn't confuse anyone too much and gave you some fun ideas and a way to feel a bit calmer about everything. The bad news is that time flies. The good news is that you are the pilot. And on that, enjoy your day, enjoy your week, and enjoy your life.